You're listening to Redman in the House. Hey, it's a podcast. Welcome back to Redman in the House. Hey, it's a podcast. And as you can tell, we're usually at our favorite little hangout spot there at the VFW 7570. But hey, we're trying to break Redman into this technology world. So hey, we're doing a little bit remote here. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I am RBV, Richard Bronson Bickering. You can see on the other side of the screen there at Train Junction, baby. It is the man himself. Redman, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I don't know how this is going to work, but it's neat trying it anyway.
I was gonna say this is kind of like futuristic, like what you thought the world would be like back when you were watching the Jetsons, right?
Oh yeah, something from James Bond or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. Not a permanent change here. Just when we can't get together through the week, this will be an option for us. But we're going to have a variety of styles coming at you as we do. We do the sit downs at the VFW. We're still going to have those. We're going to have some things at the Cabana. We're going to be going down to the track itself and our remote recordings just like this. And one of the reasons for the remote recording this week is, Redman, you've got a big week ahead of you. You guys are getting packed today and ready to hit the road semi-bright and early tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, we're getting ready to head to St. Louis. Work the Lucas Oil track out there for Division III, and I'll be in helping with the parking with my two cohorts, Nettie and Sally, and we'll be heading out probably about 11 o'clock. They're an hour behind, so it's a single. This first one's a single, and then the fall race when I go out, it's usually a double.
Well, very, very cool here. So you said you guys are going to St. Louis at NHRA, big event there. Tell us about used to work the starting line, all that. You're helping out with the parking, kind of just the flow where people are going. Kind of let us in on what your job entails there.
Well, usually the rigs, they'll be stacked up, and then they'll open the gate. They pull through the gate and pay their entry fees and everything, and then they come around, and we're usually sitting in a position to catch them and find out what eliminator they're in, because some eliminators go in certain areas and some go to other areas. And we usually pick them off one at a time, and where do you want to go? And they might have a certain area they like to be in if it's available. We try to help them get to where they want to be and as much exposure as we can get. And like I said, then they like to maybe kind of hang on to a spot. Hey, my buddy's coming tomorrow, or he's coming later this afternoon. We work together, and work on the cars and cook out and all that stuff. So that's basically my job now. Yeah, I'm a little old for the starting line and staging, but hey, I can still park cars.
Well, hey, you're right there on that front line, getting to talk with everyone. I know that's what you love about it, getting there to engage the drivers, their crews, those that are coming in. You kind of mentioned, sometimes it's designated where they need to go. Do you get quite a bit of people trying to finagle? Yeah, well, we want to go here. We want this spot. Or as you said, they mentioned, we got to make sure that we group up with our buddies, our little community.
Oh, yeah. Well, you figure usually like comp eliminator, and if alcohol's there, you got their areas. Then you got your specials, like what we call specials or sponsors. They've got an area, and then everything else is wide open. And some like to be close to the staging lane. Some like to be close to the return road and on the finish line to where they can get back to their pit quick. So, then you got the multiple car teams are hauling 4 cars. You got to give them a little more room. So it's kind of like putting a puzzle together, but it all comes out in the end, and you try to make them happy. We're like their first line to get to after they pay their money. And, we try to get them off on a happy foot to where, they're in a good mood. They're not been picked on for anything yet. Sometimes tech will get them or something else will happen and get them a little wound up. But, the car will be acting up. But if we can get them off on the right foot, then they've got a good event starting.
How many days are you there with them?
I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I'll be home before Saturday morning sometime.
So 3 big days. How long are the days?
Usually 12-hour days. We'll start about 8 in the morning, go to about 8 at night. And being that the hour time has changed, I'm not quite sure what time it'll get dark out in St. Louis, but we'll work to at least dark. And then it's hard to see and park,
So 3 big days, 12-hour days. That's a lot putting on the clock there. How many cars will you help park?
You can park anywhere depending on the event. 400 probably minimum. Could be down a little bit depending if there's other events going on. If there's nothing in the area, then guys will try to hit that event. So you could go 400, you could go up as, like if it's a double, you could go as high as 600, 700, 800. So it'll depend. And being this is the first one, they just finished. That's my cat, Pete. He likes to get on the desk. But we turn around, depending on the event, they'll try to be there. And then, like I say, being the first event, and a lot of them will be heading out. They just finished the National Open at Indy this past weekend. So some of them will head on to St. Louis, and some of them will say, well, I'll skip that one and go on home. Just depends on what they want to do.
You mentioned that event there at Indy. We're going to talk about the big events that we did have this past weekend, but I do want to touch, as you're getting ready to head there to St. Louis to help out the NHRA for that big event. You told me you got a little bit of a tradition when you head that way, because you're going to be working all those hours, all those days. You got to make sure you fill up yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a tradition. I always stop at a place called Vandalia, Illinois. And it's got one of the last Ponderosas open. So got to hit that. They still got a great baked potato and buffet bar. So I try to hit it every time I go out.
Heck yeah. Hey, you were talking my lingo right there. Hashtag RBV eats out. Love me some Ponderosa.
Oh, yeah.
So sad to see him going away. There is one like in central Ohio. We used to run up around Greensville. Wrestling shows up there, and there was one that was like a 45. It was out of the way, but we were certainly taking the rig truck, taking everything over there to make sure we got it. Hey, Ponderosa, what a great concept that was.
I tell you what,
the potato, the buffet, you loved it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and then the dessert bar, so you get it all, and it's excellent. And it's when I get there, I'm probably an hour or less away from where I need to be, so it makes a good stopping point.
Heck yeah, absolutely. You have to send me some photos from Ponderosa. I want to see.
Okay, we can do that.
Hey, so we mentioned some big events this past weekend you were checking out. Get out there. We encourage everybody. First and foremost, make sure you're getting out to your local tracks. Support the local tracks. They absolutely need it right now, arguably more than ever. But there's some great outlets through the streaming services, YouTube, just cable providers out there. There's a lot of big time racing. You watched a lot of it this weekend here, Redman. What were some of the highlights you took from this weekend?
Well, the car count was down a little bit, and I think that's because of Saturday, at Indy. But they had a good little crowd there. Had some real good cars. I think it was 50-some stock, super stock, and then I think there was 19 or 20. I forget. It was low, but the stockers were up. And then, of course, you got the 3 heads-up classes: super gas, super comp, super street, and then they were running a box, no box, fill-in type situation. So good little event to get the season started, get the track rolling. They got a lot of improvements up at IRP, new tower, supposed to be working on the pit soon up there. They got new entrants coming in. So a lot of exciting things happen to the old Indianapolis Raceway Park. It's going to be one of the premier places, I believe, when NHR gets done with it.
Wow, that's great to see those improvements. Moving forward, and they have such that great spotlight there for the sport of drag racing. Well, if this past weekend was a big event for me personally. Was kind of like my Super Bowl, World Series, Olympics all rolled in. It was WrestleMania, Redman, this past weekend. So I kind of want to tell you, I know you enjoy some old school wrestling. You got some of your favorites. You and I
wrestling
over the years.
Well, you was talking about that a few years ago. I think they were still the WWF. And Jerry Tolliver and a guy named Jim Mepler were driving 2 cars sponsored by the WWF. And one was Kane, but Stone Cold Steve Austin. So one year I'm working the starting line with Buster, and here was Kane on the starting line. And it was pretty neat. I don't know if you remember the little gal Reynolds. I think she was married to Dustin Rhodes, the older brother, I believe. And I can't remember her first name. She was there at one of the races one time. Dean Malenko, they'd come in and sporadic in the area. If they were in the area, they'd stop in at the racetrack when those cars were running. And of course, Force, awesome. Everybody loves to run against Force, so, and Gartless and Shirley, that was always big. And then, of course, Connie and Shirley, that was a main go-getter there. And, when she came back out and he came back out. So Yeah, there's been a lot of good heads up guys go after each other. Glidden, Warren Johnson, and then Lee Shepard come into the mix, and then they'd switch off and be after one of them. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of, I guess you would call rivalries going on. And
just like in pro wrestling, you have those great rivalries. It's those great rivalries you have at the track, and of course, they involve some tremendous characters, larger than life characters.
God, yes. And then they do their chirp talk, and we call it, just like wrestlers do, and and maybe even throw in once in a while they think somebody was cheating or doing something that wasn't on the up and up. And I know I heard a story one time at an IHRA event that Warren Johnson got warmed up about Glidden and Shepard wanted IHRA to check them before they ever went down the track. Really close, but yeah, it's they get into it once in a while, and on all in all, they all pretty well get along now. There'll still be a squabble here and there.
All a good fun. But I just love the comparison. You can look at those audiences, those fan bases, and coming from, working in both of those worlds. I always say that, racing and wrestling, the two that I love, and they kind of go parallel with each other. And it's always a great time. It's about that competition, the camaraderie, the characters, the storytelling.
Oh, God.
And big time power and speed. That's what both of them.
I was just watching some old episodes on Facebook with The Rock, and how he always trash talk, and can you smell what The Rock's got cooking? And what was that other one he'd say? It doesn't matter what you think,
It doesn't matter what you think.
He was a card, I'll tell you that. And that's what made wrestling come out of the, it was always neat when I was growing up, but the trash talk or the way they carry on now, well, a little bit now might be over the hill for me a little bit, but back with Stone Cold and them guys, that was crazy, man. That was fun.
Yeah, I think, a sample of that, just a little bit of that in racing would help add some new life to this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you have that, I mean, they're not I was watching a sprint car race last night, and there was a couple of them got tangled up, and the one that had to go out, he wasn't real happy, and I need to talk to him. We need to find out what happened there, so it was kind of funny. Tyler Courtney got into I think his name's Buddy Kofoil, and it was a final lap when they hooked up. So, and Courtney wound up winning. So, but yeah, they get talking, and all of them. It don't matter what brand you're racing or what sport you're in. You got that trash talking going on. Look at the old days with Joe Stinko, our boy Chad Johnson. He get them warmed up. So, and it's the Bengals. So, yeah, it's just it makes sports fun a little bit. As long as they don't go overboard.
Absolutely. Such a great time here at Redman. We're talking walking down memory lane of some of the great characters, the rivalries at the track, in the ring. But hey, one of our favorite segments here early on in our records is our cruise down memory lane. I know you got a couple photos that you want to highlight this week, brother. You go ahead, lead us into the first shot here.
Okay, the first one will be a 64 blue Ford 427 car. I didn't know the guy's name. He wasn't a high-rise car, so it ran like A stock and B stock. So I guess like the lightweight, whatever they had back in the day, made the difference in the car. One of these days we'll get him on, Dallas Kelly. He can tell us all that great stuff about them Fords. And when you look at this picture, he is like right behind what would be the burnout backs. Of course, they didn't do water burnouts back then, but where you start doing your dry hops or whatever you want to call them. And when you look at that picture close, you can see the old scale house, like we looked at another picture we had, and the staging lanes, and you can see the hill. You know how the hill at Edgewater, everybody likes to park in the trees? Well, you can see back there that there's really no activity there, and there's not that big concession stand. So it shows you how long ago that picture was. But that guy was stout. He'd run in stock eliminator, and he won a few races down there, and he ran a couple, 3 years. And then, like say, once I went into the military, I lost out on some of them, because then they switched cars and stuff. And then the second picture I got's a 40 Willys sedan gasser, A and B gasser run down there. I have no name on him either. Beautiful car, red. It's on the starting line. It's a fabulous car. He run there a few times, and he was fair. He wasn't, one of the stout guys, but he was a fair hitter, So one thing back in the day like that, they'd be a couple guys dominate, but a lot of back then, everybody was in the hunt. There wasn't nobody just you walked over them. So it was kind of neat. That was a beautiful car too. I tell you, the sedans you didn't see as much as you did like the coupe,
Mm-hmm.
And then the truck, the Willys come out with a truck too, and a lot of people ran them. So we'll have pictures of some of those later on too.
Wow, some amazing rides right there. Always great to take that cruise down memory lane. And believe me, out there, ladies and gentlemen, we could just do an entire series on the memory lane. I mean, Redman's got stacks, like Bible-sized stacks of these books, just filled with these photos. And that's what always impresses me, that you had that keen attention to back then, that you wanted to make sure to capture those moments and those rides, and then be able to keep them all for all this time.
And I'm so glad I did, because you don't see those cars. And then, like you say, like how we're doing it, we're trying to bring it back alive a little bit for folks that would go, man, I wish I'd have had kept them pictures I had, or I would have took a picture, and I always take pictures. I used to take them, a lot of them, man. I loved taking pictures of them cars when they were running. There was so many neat ones, and there's a lot of them got away from me, so it was like, it was crazy back in the day, but there was a lot of good stuff racing. I wish I would have been started earlier. Just a little trip down memory lane. I don't know how many folks will remember when I was a teenager, was a guy ran a Henry J. His name was Herbie Marks. Now, what a classic name for a race car driver. And he ran a Henry J with a Hemi in it and a 4-speed. And he was a bad cat. Now, Herbie, he was stout down there. And we lost him in an accident at Edgewater. Would have been probably 63, 64, somewhere in that area. And I believe later on, the motor got sold to Bill Schmaltz out of that car, which he put in the Willys. But Herbie was a character. He'd do them burnouts, and that car would fly for an A-gas car.
Wow. I do want to encourage anybody out there, if it's from yesterday, but especially today, if you got some photos out there, maybe a little story you want to send over to us, you can get us on Facebook, facebook.com, Redman in the House Pod. You can leave us messages on the YouTube channel, all of that. Always encourage people to share those with us, and we would love to share those as well. Maybe do a special with those that have been sent in with some little descriptions.
Oh yeah, if I know them, I'll have something to say about them. Like I told you, there's so many, and there'll be times into this thing somebody will have to say something that'll trip off a memory in my head up here, to where I can bring it out and say, yeah, I remember that guy or gal driving back then, So, I want the feedback. I want them to subscribe, because the next little segment we get into, I reached out to a couple, 3 of the family members, and they just loved it.
It's about the remembering names. And let's jump right into it, brother.
Well, okay. Yeah, there was a lot of them. And my first one here is going to be, I'm kind of repeating a little bit, but we touched on it when I went into the Hall of Fame. But I want to do a little bit more on these people. They were real instrumental in my experience with racing and getting started and everything. But they were a backbone to what I'm getting ready to tell about. And the first one is Bob and Eileen Daniels. They were the first division director and his wife. Back in the day, the wives were a key instrument for the director. They ran the trailer. They kept everything right on time and everything while he was doing his thing and making sure the race was getting off the ground. They ran a tight ship. If anybody remembers Bob, he was kind of a headstrong guy. He could get on. If everybody remembers Dick too, knows how he can get on the old chip real quick, I call it. And Bob could do it, but he ran a strict show, a class show, everything on time. And one thing I loved about him, he give you a job, you did it, and he give you the pat on the back, and you never heard nothing from him. Now, if you did something wrong, he could get in your case real bad. But they were great people, and they were instrumental in me getting started with the NHRA, part of my life. 2 from our place, Edgewater, Lee Holmes. Lee Holmes was the first tech director I worked for at Edgewater. He was one of the guys that kind of interviewed me for getting my start down there. Like I told him, I had a powder blue 60 Ford with a 390 in it, ran hard at Edgewater he didn't run Edgewater, he ran Tri-State. And then always had a cigarette hanging out his mouth. And Lee was a skinny little fellow, but he just walked around. And wore the style. He had the white, back then they wanted you to wear white pants, right? With a white shirt with all that rubber and everything, but that's what they wanted. And Lee was a good guy, he was a fair guy. Ran a straight show, and I enjoyed my time with Lee. And then the next one, of course, I don't know if you remember him, but Jason Becker, we talked about, remember him. And of course, Rob Winley probably dealt with Harvey Bond. He was the guy under Lee Holmes. What I'm telling you, Harvey, I can't say enough good things about Harvey. Harvey was a true mentor. Like I said, teach you how to be fair, teach you how to talk to a racer, try to stay straight. He kind of a guy that always reminded me of I don't know if you remember the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. When he's talking.
Who doesn't remember that?
Oh, yeah, when he's talking to the bouncers and they're going, well, what if this happens? And he'd go, be nice. Yeah, but. And he'd go, be nice. And he'd do it one more time. And then finally they'd say something, he'd go, I'll let you know when not to be nice. And Harvey was that way. He would sit there and he'd take some heat. You'd sit there with a smile, and finally he'd be talking to him, and all of a sudden everything had kind of settled down. But such a great teacher. He was Edgewater to me. When I came back second time to work for Nick and him, I come back to work under Harvey, which was great for me. So then I go on to Tim Warner. Now, this guy is out of an area called Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Tim is a great super stock racer, veteran, Marine Corps, Vietnam veteran. Tim was such a character, loved to cook. He was a great chef. Tim's been division champ once. I don't know if Tim ever won the world, but he's got twin boys. A lot of folks will know him. Byron and Brian Warner. Both of them have been world champions, wow. Been division champions. So this is a two-generation group that has won multiple events and multiple titles together. And a cute story about Tim, we're in Chicago, and a tornado's coming. Everybody's panicking because if you've never been to Joliet, it's pretty flat and there's not much place to go. Tim Warner gets in his car, puts his helmet on, and straps himself inside his race car till this is over with. And we got the biggest kick out of that. He says, well, I'm in the safest place I can possibly be. So, yeah, he buckled in that car, had his helmet on, and then finally when they got the all clear, he come out. But Tim was a great guy. And I got to know him later on, and he was neat. He had an Oldsmobile Cutlass, was a pretty bad car. Another guy I want to remember was down from around New Albany, Indiana, Louisville area, Bill Felker. Bill was a great guy. We lost Bill way too soon. He was a big into 68 Camaros, 7s, run super stock H, G automatic in that area with the 350s. Great racer. Just a great guy. I think one time he was sponsored by an outfit called Oryx 66, which was I don't know how many people remember Phillips 66 gasoline. Yep. And he was sponsored by them. His wife, Sandy, was a great lady. His son builds a sprint car motors and midget motors, AJ. And he got into the roundy round and started drag racing like that. But Bill run with all the boys, Kenny Schindler, Jimmy Bridges, all that group. And he raced Edgewater a few times. He was basically Edgewater, Ohio Valley, Lexington, and Indy. And he venture out once in a while a little farther away, but most of the time he stayed right around that area. It was a great guy. And one more I'll touch on real lightly. We just lost this week out of the alcohol ranks. A fuel car, Ken Harada. I don't know how many people remember him, but his son's Dave ran an A fuel car at our Lucas races at Edgewater. I don't know how many people might have been there the day that car blew up, and boy, it was a horrific deal. and Mr. Harada was lucky him one of the crew members, but he just passed away at 98 years old.
Ooh,
And
98 years old.
oh yeah, he run AA gas dragsters back in the day. I think him and a guy were in partners, won the U.S. Nationals one year, the early years, 60s. Ran blown dragsters, and then him and Dave started out blown, and then they wound up going to the nitro burning a fuel dragsters, they call them. So I hate losing him, but he sure lived a good life. And I'll tell you,
certainly lives. Sounds like an exciting life and a good life.
Oh yeah, he spent a lot of time at Edgewater. If them cars were running, he'd be at Edgewater if they had that class there. So yeah, he was stout. And that's why I say I hope everybody gets a kick out of this, keeps these people's memories alive, send us stuff. I was talking to a guy at breakfast yesterday, the BFW, and he
Every
drove
third
a big
Sunday of the month.
He drove these great big huge wreckers that pull 18 wheelers over and everything. I mean, they're bare, huge. He drove for Irvin Johns. Irvin Johns, who passed away, and I went into the Hall of Fame with, another great racer we lost too soon. He owned a company, and this gentleman drove for Irvin. And I don't know how many people might remember on the news about, might be 2 years ago, when that female truck driver was hanging over the bridge in Louisville. The tractor was hanging. He was getting that out of there. He was on one of the wreckers pulling that thing up out of that, over the side of that bridge. Wow. And so we got talking about Irvin and some of the guys yesterday at breakfast. So yeah, that's why I said there's always some neat stories about these folks and great people. And I'm hoping to get to see Irvin's race team this weekend. Should be Todd France should be there, and I forget who all else is running under the banner, but they'll all be there, hopefully, in St. Louis.
Well, you're getting settled in. You guys kind of relax tonight, get up early, hit the road. They're going to be a great couple of days. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. Hopefully you get some photos, come back with you, and share this great experience with us.
Oh, yeah, and I'll try to maybe get a couple of the newer cars out there. It's like I say, reach out to these drag strips, folks. I mean, I think racing's got the best going for it. By the way, there's a change in the schedule for IHRA for those who live around this area. The national event's been moved out of Montgomery, Alabama, and will be in Columbus, Ohio, Darwin and Hebron, Ohio, they call it. And it'll be May, I believe, 7th through the 9th. And it should be all class, the stock, super stock, the heads up, all the nitro, everything. And I don't know, did you see the news on them, what they're doing for a 3-race event? For Top Fuel Funny Car, if they win it's called the Triple Crown they're inventing. Mm-hmm. If you win all 3, you win the purse for that event plus $1 million.
Wow.
On top, right. If you win all 3.
Up in the ante, up in the stakes there.
Oh, yeah. They're going to do big payouts for Mountain Motor Pro Stock. Oh, it's going to be crazy. Those 3 events. I know one's going to be in Columbus in June, Maple Grove, May, over the Memorial Day weekend, and Memphis, Tennessee in the fall. So it'll be something to watch on TV if you can catch it. Yeah, it should be something. There should be some heavy hitters for that.
I was going to say, that's going to bring out the heavyweights, the haymakers, the big-time competition. But go ahead, Redman.
And one more thing for next year. Did you see NHRA's coming back with the hood scoop and pro stock and carburetors? This is going to get exciting. So pro stock hopefully come back on a rebound, and it'll get back to like we kind of used to know it before we got kind of into the cookie cutter stage, I call it. But it's, they get back into this pro stock with hood scoops and stuff. This is going to get crazy then.
All right. Hey, a lot to look forward to in the world of drag racing. Again, looking forward to next week, our conversation. We're going to wrap things up for this episode. You've been listening to Redman in the House. Hey, it's a podcast. We thank you. We appreciate you. We'll see you on the next episode.
Yes, sir. See you soon.